I saw with my own eyes my husband holding a woman, with my exact face. And the most terrifying part is, everyone around believed she was me. My name is Elena Voss, a financial lawyer, living in Chicago. At least, that is the name I lived with for 30 years, until it no longer belonged to me. If you are hearing this, stay a moment. Maybe leave me a comment. As a way to say, you believe this story exists. Because what I am about to tell is not a simple mistake, and it is not a marital tragedy. This is a plan precise enough to erase a person from the world without ever touching them. I am not telling this to complain. I am telling it because I survived. Everything started at 7:42 inches the morning, at JFK Airport. It was a very normal morning. I remember I was still drinking a bitter cup of coffee, my hand holding tightly onto my carry-on suitcase because I was afraid of missing the flight. The trip to Zurich that day was important. A major contract, a clear step forward in a career I had spent years building. Everything was under control, until the security officer looked at the screen longer than usual. It was a very small detail. Someone else might not have noticed, but I am used to observing, used to noticing the moments when the air suddenly changes. His finger stopped in mid-air, not because of hesitation, but as if it had just touched something that should not exist. I need you to step aside. His voice was still polite, almost gentle, but his eyes were not. I had heard that sentence many times before. Random checks, additional procedures, nothing unusual. But this time, something was different. I followed him without asking more, partly out of habit, partly because I had a feeling the answer, if there was one, would not be pleasant. The secondary screening room had no windows. The white light made everything feel cold and lifeless. Elena Voss. Date of birth. I answered. Destination. Zurich. The sound of typing came slowly, evenly. Every time he pressed a key, I felt time stretch a little longer. Do you have any other identification? I gave you my passport. I need more. I handed over my driver license, bank cards, insurance card. He took them, glanced quickly, then placed them on the table as if they meant nothing. Another man walked in, older, dark coat. No name tag. He did not ask. He just looked at me. That look made me realize something very clearly. They were not suspecting me. They already knew who I was. Please stand up. His voice was low, firm. I stood up, clearly feeling my heartbeat shift slightly. And what is going on? No one answered. The door opened. A long hallway, almost empty. Footsteps echoed dryly. I followed them, and for the first time that morning, a thought crossed my mind. Everything is going in the wrong direction. Not the kind of mistake that can be fixed, but something wrong from the beginning. They took me into another room, larger, a camera on the ceiling, a cold metal table, 2 chairs facing each other. The door closed behind me. The man in the dark coat sat down. You said your name is Elena Voss. Yes. He opened a thick file, the papers inside arranged with frightening precision. I am afraid there is a problem. I am sure there is not. I kept my voice calm. It was professional instinct, not letting the other person see me waver. He turned the file toward me. Can you explain why this identity is currently being used legally by someone else? I looked down. A photograph. A woman. Me. No, not someone who looks like me, but me. If I were standing at a different angle, in a different moment, every feature, every expression, exact enough to send a chill down my spine. What is this? I am asking you. That is not me. We know. The answer came immediately. No hesitation. No space for doubt. Just a conclusion. He pushed another paper toward me. Social Security number. Name. Elena Voss. Status. Active. Note. Verified. Address. Chicago. This person has been using this identity for 3 months. Impossible. Bank accounts. Tax records. Medical records. A strange feeling spread through me. Not panic, but like the ground beneath my feet had been pulled away while my body had not reacted yet. I want to call a lawyer. You will have the chance. No, now. He was silent for a few seconds, then said, You are being detained on suspicion of identity fraud and financial fraud. I let out a small laugh. A very small, almost unconscious laugh. I am a financial lawyer. I know. Then you must understand how absurd this is. No, he replied slowly. I understand how dangerous this is. The door opened again. Another person walked in, placing more documents on the table. The man in front of me flipped to the first page. Then looked at me. You are married. Right. Yes. Daniel Voss. Yes. He turned the paper toward me. Marriage certificate. Husband. Daniel Voss. Wife. Elena Voss. Signing date. 2 months ago. Signature. Mine. Not a single stroke wrong. But I never signed it. She is currently living at the registered address with your husband, he said, his voice even like reading a report. Silence fell. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a cold truth slowly filling the room. I looked at the photo again. This time, I did not try to find differences. I only realized one thing. She was not trying to become me. She had replaced me. I do not understand, he said, who you think you are in this story. I looked up, straight into his eyes, held the gaze longer than usual, then said, very softly, the one who was replaced. The door closed. I was alone. No phone. No documents. No identity. I placed my hands on the table, looked at the familiar fingerprints. Everything was still there. Just, no one recognized it anymore. I leaned back in the chair, closed my eyes for a few seconds, not to escape, but to remember this feeling. The feeling when you still exist, but the world has decided you do not. I opened my eyes, looked at the camera on the ceiling. They thought I would panic. No, if someone was patient enough to erase me from this life, then I am patient enough to find them. And this time, I will not just take back my name. I will make them wish they had never known me. They released me after 6 hours. No apology, no explanation, just a short sentence. At this time, we do not have enough grounds to hold you. At this time, I remembered those 2 words. My phone no longer had access. Accounts locked. Email did not exist. Bank cards declined on the first swipe. I stood in the airport hall, surrounded by people who had somewhere to go, and I had just been returned to a world that no longer recognized me. I did not call anyone, not because I did not want to, but because I needed to know who would not answer. I tried Daniel first. The phone rang 3 times, then stopped. Not because he answered, but because the call was cut. No message, no response, nothing. I did not call again. If he wanted silence, I would let him keep it a little longer. I rented a car with cash. An old habit. No trace. No history. The address of the house was still in my memory. No GPS. No thinking. My body drove there like a reflex. The house was the same. Paint, fence, the oak tree in front. Nothing had changed. Except the car parked outside. Not mine. I did not get out immediately. Just sat in the car, watching. The door opened. Daniel walked out. He was still wearing a white shirt, sleeves rolled up like always. Nothing different, except the way he smiled. Not at me. The woman stepped out behind him. I had seen her before, in the photo, but the photo was not enough. Reality was different. She moved as if she had lived there her whole life. No hesitation, no doubt. Her hand touched Daniel naturally. Not acting, not trying. Familiar. Daniel leaned down and said something to her. She laughed. A very small laugh. Right timing, right rhythm. I used to laugh like that. I did not step out. Not yet. I needed more. They left the house together. Not in a hurry. Not tense. Like a normal morning. I waited 10 more minutes, then got out of the car. The door was not locked. That did not surprise me. Daniel always said, "Home is a place that does not need defense." I walked in. The smell was the same. Wood, coffee, and something very light. My perfume. No, not mine anymore. Everything was in place. Sofa, bookshelf, photo frames. No sign of disturbance. No sign I had ever disappeared. That was the problem. I went upstairs. Each step precise. Not slow. Not fast. The bedroom door was open. The clothes in the closet had been changed. Not removed. Updated. Style like mine. Size like mine. But not what I chose. I opened the drawer. Jewelry was still there. Except some pieces I clearly remembered were gone. Replaced with similar ones. Clothes, but not the same. I looked in the mirror. The person looked back. Unchanged. But I knew. If someone else looked, they would not choose me. I left the room. Went down to the kitchen. A small notebook on the table. Calendar. I flipped the page. Notes. Appointments. Work details. Handwriting. Mine. Not a single stroke wrong. Not a single spacing off. But I did not write it. I stopped at one line. Dinner with Daniel. 7 p.m. I remembered that day. I was not home. But the notebook said otherwise. A small sound behind me. I turned. Mrs. Green, the neighbor, standing at the kitchen door. "You are back," she said. No surprise. No questions. "When was the last time you saw me?" She thought for a moment. 3 weeks ago. After that, you were busy. Busy, she nodded. You were still coming home every night. I looked at her, said nothing. The lights were always on, she added. But you did not go out much. Did you talk to me? She shook her head. You were not like usual. How different? She shrugged. Quieter. A pause. More precise. Precise. I thanked her. She left. I stayed in my own kitchen, looking around. No sign of intrusion. No violence. No destruction. Only replacement. I returned to the notebook, kept flipping. Every day had notes. Every detail made sense. Every action was believable, not fake, constructed. I put the notebook down. Took a slow breath. This was not identity theft. No one does this just for money. This was a transfer. Complete. I looked up at the stairs. The bedroom door still open. A woman was living my life. Not relearning, not pretending, taking over. And the most concerning thing? She did not make mistakes. I walked out of the house, did not close the door. Sat back in the car, but did not start it immediately. I looked into the rearview mirror. My face. Still mine. But the system does not care about faces. It cares about data. And the data chose her. I placed my hands on the wheel. Fingers tightened slightly. Not shaking. I no longer doubted. Elena Voss was not killed. I looked straight ahead. Voice very low. Almost a whisper. She was erased from the system. I did not return to that house a second time. Not because of fear, but because I had seen enough. Staying longer would not change anything, only make it more personal. I rented a small room on the west side of the city. No real name, no card, no trace. Just a place with a door that locks from the inside. The first thing I did was not find Daniel. I found myself. If someone could replace me perfectly like that, they did not start yesterday. No plan reaches that level in a few weeks. It had to be months, maybe longer. I needed data, not feelings. I started with the simplest thing, finance. A system that never lies, if you know how to read it. It took nearly 3 hours to regain partial access to old data. Not through my account, because it no longer existed, but through back channels. Things I used for clients. The first transaction appeared. 6 months ago. A small transfer. Unremarkable. Then the second, third, fourth. A pattern began to emerge. Not one large transfer, but many small ones. Enough to avoid attention. enough to slip through control systems. I looked at the authorization section. Electronic signature. Mine. No discrepancy. No sign of forgery. I zoomed into every detail. Typing habits. Pauses between characters. The way I abbreviate. Everything is correct. But I do not remember. I lean back in the chair. Close my eyes for a few seconds. Not to rest, but to check my memory. 6 months ago, what was I doing? A big project. A client in Europe. Long meetings. There was no transaction like this. I open the data again. Scroll down. There are days. Empty. Not that there were no transactions, but there was no trace of me. No email, no schedule, no notes. As if I had disappeared from my own life. I check the old phone, the backup. Some segments are missing, not a technical error, but deliberately deleted. I sit still. Do not take notes. Do not analyze yet. Just let one thought appear. If the signature is real, then I was there. But if I do not remember, then what state was I in? I open my personal calendar again. Offline version. There are days marked, but no content, just a dot. I have never used that way of marking. I do not like empty spaces. But here, there are too many. I close the laptop, not because I am done, but because I have seen enough to know. This is not a mistake. This is a process. I return to the old neighborhood in the afternoon. Do not go into the house. Just stand across the street. The living room window is open. The curtain moves lightly. Someone is inside. I do not need to look to know who. Mrs. Green is watering plants on the porch. She sees me. Not surprised. You came again. Her voice is the same, unchanged. I need to ask you a few more things. She nods. Does not ask why. We stand by the fence. Not too close. Those 3 weeks. I say. You said I still came home every night. Yes. Are you sure that was me? She looks at me for a moment. Does not answer immediately. Then she says, I am old, but not blind. So what did you see? She puts the watering can down. Slowly, you walked into the house, lights on, curtains drawn. A pause, but there was no music. I say nothing. I remember that, she continues, because you always played music when you were home. Anything else? She thinks. Longer than before. The way you walked. I look at her. Slower, she says, as if counting steps. A very light feeling runs down my spine. Not fear, but recognition. Did you talk to me? Once. I wait. I greeted you. Did I answer? She shakes her head. You just nodded. Not me. I never just nod to her. Did you see Daniel during that time? Yes. Was he different? She frowns. No. A pause. That is what is strange. I understand. If something was wrong, Daniel should have been the first to notice. But he did not. Or he did not want to. I thank her again. Before I turn away, she says, Elena? I stop. You did not disappear. I do not turn back immediately. Then what happened? I ask. She looks toward the house, where the window is still open, then says, very slowly, You were there. A pause. But it was not you. I turn back to look at her. Her eyes do not waver. No doubt. No speculation. Just a very simple conclusion. I stand still for a few seconds. Enough for everything to fall into place in a way I do not like. Not random. Not that one day I was replaced. But step by step, piece by piece, while I was still alive. I turn and walk away. Not fast. Not rushed. But this time, there is no hesitation. Elena, Mrs. Green says behind me. I do not turn back. You did not disappear. I stop. You were replaced while you were alive. I no longer look for answers in memory. Memory can be distorted. Data cannot. The name Victor Hale appears for the first time in a chain of transactions that most people would ignore. Not big, not loud, no direct trace. But there is a pattern. All the money flows to the same point. I do not know who he is. But I know one thing. Someone who can erase a person from the system does not work alone. There must be infrastructure. There must be access. There must be someone behind it. And Victor Hale is at the center. His company building is in Midtown. Glass. Steel. Perfect. The kind of perfection that makes people believe everything inside is legal. I do not go in through the front door. Places like this are not designed to keep strangers out. They are designed to make strangers not think about going in. I go through the back parking lot. A technical entrance. Old. Fewer cameras. No need to break a lock. Just need to know where no one is looking. Inside is quiet. Not the quiet of a closed place, but a controlled quiet. I do not go to the upper floors. Important things are not there. They are where no one looks. The server room is downstairs. No sign. No glass door. Just a metal door and a control system simpler than people think. It takes 7 minutes. I do not rush. One wrong step here has no chance to fix. The door opens. No sound. The space is cold. The sound of machines running continuously. Stable. I plug in the device. Not to take everything. Just enough to understand the structure. The data appears faster than I expect. Organized. Categorized. Not a normal company. I search for a keyword. Not Elena. Not Voss. But something broader. Transfer. Dozens of results. I open the first. Not financial. Not a normal contract. Files. Names. Dates of birth. Identification numbers. Status. Reassigned. I open more. Another. Then another. The pattern repeats. People. Marked. Transferred. No one missing. No one dead. Just replaced. I stop when I see a file. Not because of the name, but because of the identifier. Too familiar. I open it. Identity transfer agreement. I read every line. Do not skip. Perfect legal language. No loopholes. No emotion. Purchase of full rights to use identity. Transfer of legal rights. Deletion of original data from the federal system. Not fraud. Legal. In the most ruthless way. I scroll to the signatures. Buyer, Victor Hale. Not surprising. Seller, Daniel Voss. I stop. Not because of shock, but confirmation. I already knew. Just had no proof. Now I do. But still not enough. I scroll further. Final confirmation section. Signature. Elena Voss. No gap. No error. No difference. Precise beyond dispute. I do not touch the screen. Do not react immediately. Just look. For a long time. If this is fake, it is perfect. If it is real, there is only one possibility. I signed. In a state I do not remember. I read the entire contract again. Slower. There is a clause. Small. Near the end. Subject acknowledges full cognitive consent at time of agreement. Full cognitive consent. One sentence enough to lock every legal door. I let out a quiet laugh. Not because it is funny, but because it is precise. Too precise. They did not just erase me. They made it legal. I removed the device. Do not take all the data. Only what is necessary. I leave the server room. Close the door. Leave no trace. Outside is still quiet. As if nothing happened. I walk out of the building the same way. Late afternoon light. Traffic still moving. The world has not changed. Only one thing is clear. I am not the victim of a mistake. I am the result of a transaction. I stand on the sidewalk. Watch people pass. No one knows. No one cares. A person can be sold, without anyone noticing. I take the temporary phone, open the file again, look at my signature one last time. No shaking, no hesitation, only one clear thought. I was not just betrayed. I was sold, with my own consent. I do not go back to the rented room immediately. Not necessary. Once you see the structure of the problem, sitting still only makes it heavier. I need movement. Not the financial district. Not where there are cameras on every corner. An older area. Less light. Less attention. Old Man Harris is not the kind of person you find on Google. No website. No business card. If you know him, it means you have been very close to some kind of line. I stop in front of an old watch repair shop. The sign is faded. The glass door is not fully clear. No one would think this place still operates. But it has never closed. I push the door. A small bell rings. Inside smells of metal and machine oil. Wall clocks run out of sync, none the same. He sits behind the counter, head down, wearing a magnifying lens. You still have not fixed that bell, I say. He does not look up immediately. He turns a small screw, then removes the lens. You still have not learned to knock. His voice is hoarse. Slow. I do not smile. You knew I would come back. No. A pause. But I knew if you came back, then everything has gone too far. I step closer. Do not sit. Victor Hale. He looks at me, not surprised. You finally reached the right person. You know him. Know enough. I need everything. He shakes his head. Slowly. No one has everything. I do not have time for vague answers. Then, you came to the wrong person. A silence. Not tense. Just a test. I place a USB on the table. Do not push it toward him. Just leave it there. Identity transfer agreement. I say. It has my signature. He looks down. Does not touch it. So they have reached that step. Is that the final step? No, he says. That is the step people think is final. I pull the chair and sit down. Explain? He leans back, looks at a wall clock. Victor Hale does not sell identities, he says. He sells lives. I do not interrupt. People with money, he continues, sometimes do not want to live their own lives anymore. I am not that kind of person. No one thinks they are. I tighten my hand slightly. He works with a system, Harris says, not just changing documents, but changing history. I have seen it. Not enough. He looks straight at me. They do not just create a new person. They rewrite the old one. A pause. And the old one agrees. I laugh. Not loud. You think I sold myself willingly. I do not think, he says. I have seen. The air in the room does not change, but my breathing does. How many people? Enough that I stopped counting. Has anyone come back? He is silent. Longer. No. A simple answer. No detour. Then I am the exception. Maybe. Or you are missing data. He smiles lightly. You are still the same. Before you started. I look at him. One more thing, Harris says. I am listening. No one gets out of this system unless they prepared in advance. I do not react immediately. That sentence is not information. It is a hint. What do you mean? He does not answer directly. Do you remember the first time you came here? I remember. You asked me how to erase a person from the system. I say nothing. What did I say then? I look at him. It cannot be completely clean, I say. There is always a trace. Then why do you think this time is different? I open my mouth, then stop. Not because I have no answer, but because there are too many. I look at the USB, then at him. You are saying I knew about this before. He shrugs. I am not saying, but you think so. I do not need to think. He tilts his head. You came to me. I am here. No, he says. Before that, a small gap opens in my mind. Very small, but enough for light to get in. No data disappears completely, he continues. It is only hidden where others do not look. You are saying I hid it. No. He looks at me. For a long time, I am saying you knew you would need it. I stand up, not abruptly, but enough to end the conversation. You are missing evidence. Maybe. I turn away. But you are not. I stop. Do not turn back immediately. You came to me, Harris says, not to find answers. A pause. That is the final step in your plan. I turn my head. Look at him. No sarcasm. No challenge. Just a conclusion. Not because I believe, but because a part of me is starting to recheck everything. If I already knew, then where am I on this board? A victim, or the one who set the board from the beginning? I step out of the shop. The bell rings again. It is dark. Streetlights turn on. The city is the same, but this time, nothing is random. I stand outside for a few seconds. Do not move. Just let one thought become clearer. I was not betrayed. Or, not only that, I placed myself in this game. I do not go back to find Daniel. Not yet. Direct confrontation is only useful when you understand the whole game. Right now, I have only seen its structure. To break a system, you do not hit what it protects. You hit what it needs. Victor Hale does not exist because of secrets. He exists because of money flow. And money always leaves a trace. I do not use anything that belonged to Elena Voss. No device, no account, no habit. I create something new. Not perfect, but real enough. An identity that does not need to last, only needs to exist at the right time. Hidden email, intermediate servers, a chain of IPs across 3 countries, not to hide, but to control how I am seen. I do not break into Hale's system again. No need. I already know how it works. Now I become part of it. I send an offer. Not too big, not too attractive, just an intermediary transaction. A small company needs to restructure financial identity. Correct language. Correct terms. Details only insiders use. 3 days later, they respond. Do not ask much. Do not verify deeply. Only need one thing: money. I smile. This system does not check morality, only checks risk, and I am not a risk. Not yet. I start exchanging, step by step. No rush. Each email, each file, is a piece of data. Not enough to raise suspicion, but enough to draw a map. I know what they store, how they process, how they transfer, and most importantly, who signs where. Victor Hale does not appear directly. He does not need to. His system runs like an automated body. But no body is without weakness. I start changing very small things. A number. A time. A transfer route. Not enough to cause failure. Just enough to create deviation. A transaction arrives 6 minutes early. A confirmation is delayed 11 minutes. Things no one notices until they stack. After 2 weeks, the system starts to slow. No one knows why. And that is when I send the first data package. Anonymous. No sender. No source. Just a set of unusual transactions. I do not send everything. Just enough to create curiosity. FBI does not react immediately. They never do. But they start looking. I know because Hale's system changes. New layers of protection are added. Stricter checks. They are being watched. And they do not like it. I send the second package. This time more structured. Not just data, but a story. Who transferred what? When? Why it does not make sense. Not an accusation, but guidance. 3 days later, there is movement. One account is frozen. One transaction is held. Small, but enough. I do not speed up. Do not overwhelm. Pressure must be steady, slow, continuous. I am teaching them how to look. And someone has learned. Detective Aaron Ruiz is not easy to lead. I read his file before sending the third package. He does not chase data. He looks for patterns. So I give him patterns. Not complete, just enough for him to know someone is guiding. I leave a flaw, very small. An IP address not fully masked. Not enough to trace me, but enough to show I exist. That is not a mistake. It is an invitation. 2 days later, I see a response. A trace request. Not public. Ruiz does not tell anyone. He keeps it. Checks privately. I know this type. Does not believe in luck. Does not believe in anonymous sources. Only believes in what can be verified. So I give him that. The fourth package. A chain of transactions leading to a shell company of Hale. Not direct, but close enough. Close enough for him to touch the edge of the system. And when he touches, I pull my hand back. Do not send anything more. Do not interfere further. Just observe. The system starts reacting stronger. Transactions are rechecked. Some accounts disappear. Some people no longer appear. They are cleaning. But the more they clean, the more they expose. I do not need to break them from outside. They will do it themselves. I sit in the rented room, dim light, laptop open. Everything is moving in the right direction. Not fast, but precise. I look at the screen. A line of data just updated. A large transaction is blocked. For the first time. I lean back. Breathe slowly. No burst of emotion. No victory. Just a step. I do not need to prove I exist. I do not need to return to my old life. I only need one thing. When the system collapses, no one can rebuild it. I turn off the screen. In the dark, a very clear thought appears. I do not need to be found. I only need to make them collapse. I meet her on an evening with no witnesses, no lawyer, no press, no curious eyes or phones ready to record. Just the two of us. It is the first time, and also the last time. She sits in a small hotel room, back straight, hands on the table as if still holding on to a final piece of dignity. But I can see clearly, everything has already collapsed. Not because of what I say, but because she knows I know everything. I have been waiting for you, she says, her voice calm to the point of cold. I close the door behind me. No, I reply. You were not waiting for me. You were waiting for the ending. A silence stretches. I do not rush to sit. I want her to see me clearly. Every line, every expression. Not the girl from before who was led away in the dark, not understanding what was happening. The me now is the one holding the entire story. You think you have won, she asks. I smile slightly. No, I do not think. I pull a chair and sit across from her. I know. She looks at me for a long time, without blinking. Then she exhales, a very light breath, as if someone who has held a secret for too long no longer needs to hold it. Do you want to know why? I do not answer, but she still speaks. Not because of money. I raise an eyebrow slightly. Not because of assets. She lets out a faint laugh. You think everything revolves around numbers in a will. I stay silent. You are wrong. She leans forward. You were switched because you should not have existed. That sentence should have broken me. But it does not. I only feel empty. I guessed, I say quietly. Her eyes shift slightly, not from surprise, but because she realizes I am no longer a victim. From the moment I found the hospital records, I continue. The day I was born, 2 children. One died, one lived. I look straight at her, but the one who died was not me. The air in the room freezes. She does not deny, does not argue. You switched the 2 children, I say slowly. One belonged to that family. One did not. And you chose to keep the one who did not belong. She closes her eyes. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then opens them. You do not understand. I laugh lightly, then explain. For the first time, her voice is no longer cold. It breaks. Because that child is mine. I do not react. Not immediately. I have considered many possibilities. But not this. Who do you think I am? She says, her voice low. A greedy woman who only cares about money. She laughs. But there is no joy. I used to work at that hospital. A nurse. Someone with nothing. She looks down at her hands. I was pregnant. No one knew. And then I gave birth to a child I could not keep. My throat dries. Not from sympathy, but because the story is becoming dangerous in a different way. That same day a wealthy family had a child, she continues. They had everything. A perfect future. She lets out a faint laugh. I did not even have a name in the records. I say nothing. I just switched the bracelets. A simple act, but it destroyed my entire life. You grew up in wealth, she says, and my child grew up in what should have been yours. And you thought that was fair, I ask. No. She shakes her head. I thought it was necessary. I look at her for a long time. I lost everything, she says. But at least my child did not. Then why did you come back, I ask. That is the question I have held in my head this whole time. If she only wanted to protect her child, then why destroy me? She looks at me. This time her eyes do not avoid. Because you started to remember. A chill runs down my spine. You started asking too many questions, she says. Small details. Things that did not match. You should not have dug deeper. I had no choice, I reply. You did. She cuts in. You always had a choice not to know. I laugh. Do you really believe that? Yes. Her voice is firm. Because the truth is not always something that needs to be exposed. I stay silent. That sentence is more frightening than any threat. So you tried to erase me, I ask. No, she shakes her head. I only put you back in your place. By turning me into an imposter, taking away my identity, my past, everything. Yes, without hesitation, I look at her. For the first time, I feel something that is not anger, not hatred, but understanding. Not agreement, but understanding. Do you know what is funny? I say quietly. She does not answer. I spent all this time trying to get revenge. I thought if I destroyed you, everything would be fine. I laugh. But now I realize this was never just about you. She is silent. I did not just lose an identity, I continue. I lost an entire life I never had the chance to choose. I stand up slowly. And you too. She looks up. For the first time, her eyes are no longer sharp. Only a tired woman remains. I could destroy you completely, I say. Not just legally. I could make you disappear. A silence. But I will not do that. She frowns slightly. Why? I look straight at her. Because then I would become you. That sentence makes her freeze. I turn away, my hand on the door handle. But do not misunderstand, I say without turning back. I will still take back everything that belongs to me, just not your way. I open the door. Light from the hallway pours in, and for the first time I feel I am no longer trapped in this story. Not because I have won, but because I have finally stepped out of it. Behind me, she does not call out, does not stop me, does not say anything more, and that is the real ending. I officially take back my name on a very ordinary morning. No applause, no lights, just a small room in a federal court where everything is decided by papers and signatures. The judge reads my name, my real name, slowly and clearly. And in that moment I realize something strange. I do not feel like I am returning. I feel like I am starting again. My lawyer nods slightly and pushes the file toward me. From now on, you are the only legal person who carries this identity. I look at my signature. The handwriting is the same, but the person signing it is no longer the same. The case spreads outside faster than I expect. The media calls it a decades-long identity switch. Some call me a victim. Others call me a survivor. And her, she does not disappear. Not completely. What I reveal is enough to destroy her position in society, but not enough to erase her from the world. And I choose that. Not because of forgiveness, but because I understand something. Some punishments do not need prison. The person I think about the most is not her, but the other girl, the one who lived the life that should have been mine. We meet once. Only once. No notice. No arrangement. Just an afternoon when I stand in front of that house, the house I once thought was mine, and she walks out. We look at each other. No one speaks for the first few seconds, because what can we say now? Sorry for living your life, or thank you for accidentally stealing it. Neither is right. Are you okay? She asks first. I nod. And you? She smiles lightly. Not like before. I understand. We both do. Neither of us truly wins. We just learn how to stand up in different ways. Do you hate me? She asks. I look at her for a long time, then shake my head. No, that is the truth. I do not hate her, because she never chose this, just like me. So what will you do next? She asks. I exhale slowly. Start again. She nods. Sounds scary. I know. A silence, but not uncomfortable. Just two people standing in the middle of the rest of their lives. I hope this time we both get to choose, she says. I smile. Yes. I leave without looking back. Not because I want to forget, but because I do not need to look back anymore. Identity is no longer something someone can take from me. Not because of papers. Not because of the law. But because I have redefined it myself. I am no longer the girl who was switched. No longer an imposter. Not a victim. I am someone who knows the truth and still chooses to live. There is one thing no one tells you. The truth does not always heal. Sometimes it only opens wounds you did not know you had. But what matters is not what you lost, but who you decide to become after everything. I lost a childhood, a family, a name, but I did not lose myself. Not again. If you are listening to this story, maybe you have felt like you do not belong somewhere. Maybe you have been misunderstood, replaced, or pushed out of the life that should have been yours. But remember, no one can decide who you are except you. And sometimes losing everything is the only way to truly see yourself. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. If there was a moment that made you stop, think, or see yourself in it, leave a comment. I really want to know what you felt. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories that are not just dramatic but also touch something real in all of us, press like and subscribe. Not for numbers, but because we all need someone to listen. And maybe next time, the story will be yours.